All right, where were we? So we talked about the Su Young and the Father James Mitchell stuff. So we're gonna skip over that part. The next thing that happened that was basically the main event of the show was the contract signing. So we had Scott D'Amore in the ring with the contract signing. Kenny Omega and Don Callis come out. They sign the contract for Slammiversary. Then the lights go out. A video comes on the big screen, and we see that it was Johnny Bravo dressed as Sami Callihan who actually attacked Don Callis in the video that we saw earlier in the show. Lights go out again. They come back on, and Sami Callihan is in the ring. Then he and Kenny Omega get into a brawl. Sami ends up dropping Kenny Omega with the package pile driver, signs the contract, fakes like he's going to leave, comes back in the ring, and power bombs Kenny through a table, and he celebrates on the rope with the title. And I gotta tell you, man, he looked good with the title. Sami Callihan looked good holding up the Impact title. I was like, man, that looks like a fit. I can't lie. It looks like he belongs as the Impact Wrestling World Champion. He's somebody who you know wants to be here. He's somebody who you know wants to represent the brand. He wants to carry the flag for Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
It did not feel bad seeing Sami Callihan holding up the Impact Wrestling Championship. So the show goes off the air like that. And listen, this segment proved to me how easy it is to heat somebody up for a main event. Because prior to this show, I was sitting here saying, I don't even know if I'm going to get this show because there's no suspense in whether or not Sami Callihan is going to beat Kenny Omega. I mean, there's still not. But what they've done is they've actually visually shown me Sami Callihan getting the upper hand on Kenny Omega. And now the possibility seems more real.
Which we never got with Rich Swann. Not even one time.
Never got it with Moose.
Right. So this is a very different dynamic this time around. You could say not Swann, but Omega was kind of scared of Moose, but he's like really scared of Sami Callihan. They're like trying to not let this match happen. Sami Callihan is not going to win. They're not going to not do Eddie Edwards versus Kenny Omega. There's no way in hell they're not going to do that. Or Josh Alexander versus him. So I don't expect Sami to win, but we had a reason to be invested into it. And I got to give props. Josh Matthews sounded really good during this. When he gets in his deep voice, Sami Callihan, like he's a different broadcaster than when he's like, oh, I went on ImpactWrestling.com to look at Microbrawler. Like he has these two different personalities, and when he's that one, like he used to be, he can make the stuff sound very good. So I thought he just did a very good job through this whole segment, not the show, the segment. But yeah, it was just nice to see a completely different dynamic to where Kenny is actually ended up on his ass that we just haven't seen. And I'm sure that's done by design. They really wanted to build up to that, but it would just been nice to see Swann or Moose. We want to at least think like they had a chance to win,
Yeah, totally. All right. So how would you say the build to the Slammiversary has been thus far?
I don't think it's been good. It hasn't been horrible, but if you think of the builds for Hard to Kill and Rebellion and usually Slammiversary is the one that they really put all this effort into, and I don't get that this time around. As I said earlier, they just announced a bunch of matches on Twitter, which is their probably least engaged social media platform as far as the engagement numbers. So that was just really weird to me. I'm sure they put it on the other platforms too, but I mean, it just, Twitter's where I think they broke the news. We were like, Lewis was texting me the other day. He was like, dude, we're like less than 2 weeks from Slammiversary and we have 4 matches.
Yeah.
And then,
this was the episode where they filled in the gaps. This was the episode where they filled in the gaps.
Yeah.
A lot of it feels thrown together. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of it feels thrown together. But listen, I think it's gonna be a good show. I'd be lying if I said that they have really enticed me to go into my pocket. There's nothing on this show that I feel like I have to see.
Agreed.
And also now that I know, you can rest assured that they don't have any content if they don't show us what happened on their next on the next episodes after the show. So I don't really, you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably going to get the show, but I'm not pressed about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I have to necessarily get this show.
Yeah.
Let's do a world title watch real quick. World title watch is the segment where we talk about the comings and goings of the Impact Wrestling World Championship until the title comes back home to Impact Wrestling. And so right now, where do you see the world title picture? Where do you think it's going? Who do you think is going to be the person to finally bring that title back to Impact Wrestling?
I think Bound for Glory, Eddie Edwards were challenged for it. What I've wanted to see this whole time was him to have multiple title defenses, but against very random, the Fala Baz the 1 week and the Jake something the next, just to see the TJP matches. I wanted to see guys step up and try to beat him.
You want to see him beat the whole company?
Yeah, see, that's a problem with that. The roster's not big enough to do that.
That's true.
And it probably makes the company look weak if you were to do that. That's just what, in my perfect world, I would like to see that, so that when he actually does drop it, it's a surprise. But I'm sure you don't want to see Kenny beat too many guys, because then people are going to probably turn on the whole angle more than they have already. So instead, they're just like, hey, let's get our main eventers together to challenge him. I think Eddie Edwards is going to wrestle him at Bound for Glory. I don't think he's going to beat him. I'm really starting to talk myself into him wanting to win the X Division Championship as well, and Josh beating him at Hard to Kill. So I think we're going to see Kenny for the rest of the year be a champion until the top of next year.
Yeah, man, I gotta say, they're doing a good job keeping Moose involved in the storyline. They keep letting us know that Moose is not out of the title picture, and that keeps me with the idea that Moose could be the one. I mean, Moose is the person who looks like, if you heard Moose beat Kenny Omega, you'd have no beef with that. You know what I mean? Because you probably can't beat Moose. You know what I mean? Like, you're an average person, your average Joe out there walking. It's like, what you gonna say? What you gonna say to Moose? You gonna take it from him? You know what I mean? And so, like, so Moose is the person that is like the most physically imposing. But I'm gonna keep banging this drum, until it either happens or it doesn't. They have an opportunity right now to do something that they have not done in a very long time, and that's make a star. Make a star. It started with that 60-minute Iron Man match. Josh Alexander, just let him keep doing what he does, putting bangers in the bank. Let him just keep beating person after person after person after person until we look up and Kenny Omega has beaten everybody, and Josh Alexander has beaten everybody, and there's nowhere to go but right across from each other. And even like what you said, I think is a great vehicle to get there. Kenny Omega looks around and says he's beating everybody, and then Josh Alexander maybe comes out and interrupts his promo and is like, you ain't beat me yet. And then let's do it at Bound for Glory. It's going to be title versus title. And then you have Josh Alexander beat Kenny Omega. And what you will have at that point, you'll have a homegrown talent, someone that people cannot readily identify as being a WWE guy or an AEW guy or an ROH guy. You'll have a homegrown talent with the biggest win that anybody in Impact has ever had. And that will be, and then what you do, I don't even feel like I should have to say this, but you make him your hood ornament. You make Josh Alexander your hood ornament, touring around the country. You give him a year-long title run, going through, beating everybody, touring all around, and you let him be known as the face of Impact Wrestling, the Impact Wrestling guy. If you got to get him a manager, a talking point, whatever you got to do, let him be the guy. It's not that I don't like Moose. I love Moose. Like I said, I'm almost always going to root for the black guy. But in this case, Josh Alexander is he's an undefined entity. You know what I'm saying? He's somebody that people can't be like, oh, I know this is his flaw, whatever. Like to a lot of people, he's unknown. And when you have him beat Kenny Omega, you have made a star, and you've made a star out of an Impact guy. It's such a great idea. that they'll probably never do it.
Right.
But that's World Title Watch. Now it is time for the segment that you love, because this is the part where you get to be a part of the show. This is from the comment section. And if you want to be a part of From the Comment section, just go ahead and drop your comments right below this video. Make sure you include your name and where you're from so we can give you a shout out. And let's see what's in the comment section this week. All right. All right. Blursider21 says, Omega clearly isn't drawing viewers like he did for his debut on Impact, but it's also other factors as well. Impact is very formulaic, not a lot of interesting storylines, and redundant matches probably don't help either. The Impact and AEW partnership isn't even talked about anymore. That's how irrelevant this partnership has become. BQ, what do you think about that?
I think a lot of people have turned on the Kenny Omega stuff. So it's not that Kenny Omega doesn't get viewers. Kenny Omega draws viewers. People buy tickets. You know, like if Kenny Omega's gonna be at an Impact pay-per-view and they were selling like tickets, and it was you're gonna have probably one of your bigger selling Impact shows of the year. Like I absolutely guarantee it. I think people are just tired of that angle. There's more. It's just not what the fans wanted. I think that's all in my opinion, what it boils down to. So that's why people are I don't really care about the Kenny Omega stuff, because they thought it was going to be something else. And they don't really like what it is right now. And wrestling fans want the now. They don't, they talk about long-term storytelling, but people don't actually want it. They just talk about it. They're not really putting Kenny Omega in a position to be. They're making him a good champion, but they're not. I don't think they're trying to draw viewers because he's on the show. Right. I think at one point they were, but I don't know. I just think people just want it to be something else that it's not.
Yeah.
I think as far as them not doing anything compelling and original and all that, I mean, I think that's the deeper rooted issue here. I've stated many times I don't really like MLW, but I watch these YouTube videos where they call it the draft, where they announce a new, someone new coming to the company. I haven't bought an ROH pay-per-view in forever, but they're building up this women's tournament, and we're gonna announce the bracket at the pay-per-view and all this shit. Like I'm probably gonna get the pay-per-view, like because they're doing stuff to pull me in, and Impact's just not doing that. I haven't watched a full show with the exception of this last one in a month. I just watched bits and pieces, and I don't feel like I've missed anything. That's a problem.
That's a good point. That's how I feel about Monday Night Raw. I agree with you for the most part. At the end of the day, I said this before. Impact, they got the bump from Kenny Omega, and they didn't do anything to make the people stay. That's totally their fault. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Kenny Omega thing, like he's not an attraction. It's not like you got to tune in to see what Kenny Omega is going to say, because he's not a great promo. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll say this too, like Kenny Omega ain't all that. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Like, everybody who's fans of him from New Japan and all that. Oh, this guy Kenny Omega, blah, you know what I mean? Like, listen, just seeing him, like, I'm like, okay, it's fine, but this not like watching Kenny Omega. I'm not like, oh God, where has this been all my life? Like, I can't believe I've been missing out. Like, nah, it's fine, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, seeing there's times in wrestling, and I really, God, man, I want this to go away. It seems like there's just so many times in wrestling where it's just like hard to suspend your disbelief. Like the parts where Kenny Omega beats everybody to exhaustion, where they just can't stand up anymore. They can't move. And it's another V trigger and another V trigger. Right. And he's just beating these people to death. It feels like he's just beating them till they can't move. Like from a match flow standpoint, like, that seems realistic, but it's like if you were killing them that bad, why does it take 17 V triggers for them to get like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. The matches are a little bit overkill, and I'm just not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't see what the big deal is about Kenny Omega. Like, to me, there's nothing about him that screams superstar. You know what I mean? Like like I said, he's not a great promo. He's not a good dresser. Like he's not like, there's not like, I don't look at him and go, man, I want to hang out and party with that guy. Like that guy looks cool and fun. You know what I mean? Like I'm just telling the truth. Like I don't see what the big deal is about Kenny Omega. Like, you know what I mean? Like I get it. I get the power of buzz, right? That's what the big draw was, getting people to watch, because Kenny Omega was going to be there. Is like, what's he going to do? And he hasn't really done anything. You know what I mean? He's wrestled a few times, but like Kenny Omega himself, I'm not blaming ratings on Kenny Omega. I'm just saying that I think people got to be honest with themselves and admit that it's like, I like Kenny Omega because I'm supposed to. You know what I mean? I like Kenny Omega because I'm supposed to, because I'm down with the AEW clique, whatever. Like, oh, I'm up on New Japan and Indies, and that's what it is if you're an AEW fan. So it is what it is. Like, I'm not blaming Kenny Omega for the ratings. I'm just saying that he's nothing special that people really feel like they have to watch to see him. He's not. And people can be like, oh, that's because Impact is trashed and he doesn't look big on Impact. Like, no, it's you. It's you.
And you
if Brock Lesnar was on Impact, I guarantee you people would tune in to see what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
who was?
If Brock Lesnar was going to be on Impact, I bet you they'd pop like a 600-700 rating.
But I want to point this out too. It's always Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. It's the same exact graphic every time. This and it don't matter who you put on the other side of the graphic. It just feels like it's the same fucking match. And then that same graphic is used for AEW, and they do the same thing. Where AEW has a lot of stables, so like just take the Dark Order for instance. They'll be like, this week it's Evil Uno and Alan Five Angels. Like they'll mix it up, and then the next week Evil Uno will be with Stu Grace or whatever. They could make it a little fresher. They're like, hey, Kenny is just teaming up with Carl Anderson this week, and the next time it's Luke Gallows and Kenny Anderson. I mean Kenny Anderson, the fucking basketball player. Luke Gallows and Kenny Omega.
Right.
But it's the same Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus. But then you go to AEW and they're still doing the same six-man tag team match. So why watch on Impact when I can watch? With wrestling fans, like I can watch a better version. I can see them fight Penta and Phoenix and someone, or I can watch them fight Willie Mack and you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You can just watch a better version of Kenny Omega on AEW. So it's like, who cares?
You're right. All right. So thank you for your question. Next, we got Silver Jackson. Silver Jackson says, hi, my name is Silver from Texas. What up, though? What up, Texas? How we doing? Says, I think the reason ratings were low was going into 4th of July, plus people weren't DVRing the show. It's time for Impact Wrestling to pay that big bucks to help them promote the show. Doing AEW or WWE product famous again. They are first. Hold on. First wrestling company ever to have their own cable channel. They're now broke. I mean, WWE has more money, but for some odd reason, refusing their movie to buy their own cable and figure, all right, Impact needs to be in more homes. Okay, I get it. All right, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Silver, thank you for your question. Yeah, if Impact was on a bigger network, they'd do more numbers. It is what it is. But I also do agree with what you said, Silver. Impact is owned by Anthem, who owns Access TV. So Anthem ain't broke, okay? Anthem could put more money into promoting Impact. But here's the thing that I think that is smart about what they're doing. They're not going to just throw money out there for the sake of throwing money out there. Don't just say, here's a bigger budget, Impact. Say, hey, Impact, let's go find somebody who's really good at social media and let's hire them to promote your stuff. I know Josh Matthews told you he's good at social media and you believe him because you don't know anything about social media. But look at some companies who are really good on social media and ask yourself how what you put out compares to what they put out. And hire somebody who can do that. Okay, hire somebody who can engage with fans and just get your product and your brand way more popping. Okay, spend some money like that, then get people engaged like that. And then, like I said earlier, spend some money promoting and showing that fans are interacting with your product and enjoying your product so that people look at your product and think that it's a good time. So people look and see your show and go, oh man, when that comes to my town, I want to check it out. That's what Impact needs to do to boost, it all around, boost ratings, boost revenue, boost interest in the product. That's all that they need to do, all that stuff. Make it about the fans. So thanks for your question, Silver. BQ, anything you want to add to that?
First of all, shouts out to Texas. That's flying my daughter there tomorrow because that's where she's from originally.
Nice.
So I got love for Texas. I've been saying that for a while. Like, hire experts to do social media, experts to edit the show. Like, I know for a fact that they promote within instead of going in getting the best people. And the problem is that works for a little bit, but then you start trickling down to a point where you're promoting people and probably saving yourself money in the process, but they're not really ready for that. And I know that Josh does some of the social media. It's clear because his terminology that he speaks with is, what's being used on social media. Get some experts, man. Like, this stuff really matters. Like, put some people who know what they're doing. I actually had an interview for a part-time job the other day to run social media for someone. I thought they're actually going to hire me, but I think they went another direction. But there's people out there that are really good at this stuff, and that's what you need to build an engaged audience.
Yeah, hell yeah. So yeah, you're gonna spend some money, Impact. Start there. All right, this is the last one. Last one comes from Kruger Child 1428. He says, at this point, since she steamrolled the entire roster, I think Deanna's going to drop it to an outsider, perhaps Fabi Apache at Triple Mania. Deanna or a newly healed Jordan Grace will probably then win it back at Bound for Glory. What do you think about that?
I don't understand what he's getting.
He was responding to comments about the lack of knockouts, the knockouts division needing to improve. And what the comment was, he said at this point, Deanna has gone through the entire roster and she'll probably drop it to somebody like Fabi the Apache at Triple Mania. So someone who's not on the roster now.
Oh, okay.
And then he said, then either she or Jordan Grace will probably win the title back at Bound for Glory.
No, I fully expect Deanna to carry the championship throughout the majority of the year. I don't think she's going to lose a Slammiversary, depending on. I think most likely she's going to beat the opponent, but I think there's going to be another tease after that. I don't think the story is going to end with her beating. Like, say she beats Chelsea Green. I think there's just going to be more to it. I don't think she's going to drop the title. I already said she's got 2 title versus title matches coming up. And I know one is a smaller promotion, but I think Teddy Long runs it or something like that. So it's still got some name value. And it's against Ivelisse, so it's not against some nobody. I really don't think Ivelisse is who I want to fucking answer a challenge, by the way, but it's probably not going to be her. I fully expect Deanna to be the champion for a while. They're right. There's not a lot of knockouts, not a lot of contenders, but if she drops the title, it's going to force them to have to make people. The girls aren't hot right now, so if she drops the title, all of a sudden you're going to have these girls who aren't hot, and you're going to have to pretend that they are all of a sudden.
Right.
So I just expect Deanna to have it for a while. I don't think Fabi Apache is going to take it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Deanna Purrazzo is in the midst of a great run. A run that includes an Iron Woman match. Big win over Jordan Grace, and it's not her fault. This is almost like John Cena, right? John Cena was at the top of the show in WWE for a long time and didn't have a whole lot of people to work with. You know what I mean? They had Randy Orton, they had Batista. It took a long time for those guys to really get hot. And when Cena was on top, he was kind of working by himself for a while, right? Like CM Punk came through and then The Rock came back. But I'm talking about that's like 4 people over the course of 10, 12 years. I just named. You know what I'm saying? It's tough to be alone at the top. And that's I don't mean that with no disrespect to the other knockouts, but there's nobody else on the roster right now shy of Jordan Grace, maybe Jordan Grace, who is really, a complete enough performer to really like carry the division. I mean, like Deonna Purrazzo, she's not a great promo, and she has this really like shrill kind of voice, but I think that adds to her heel factor. You know what I mean? I think that adds to it. She's like, God, shut up. You know what I mean? But then she goes out there and she wins, and it makes you hate her even worse. So she's in the midst of a great title run. Like, just let it keep going. And see what happens. See the market develops. WWE's firing people every week. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Somebody will pop up eventually. But there's no reason to take it off of her right now. She's in a great run. She's killing people. They do need to get her some good opponents, okay? But there's no reason to take it off of her. I'd love to see her go out there and start collecting championships, be Impact's version of the belt collector. Just go out there and start killing people, man. Like, I think it'd be dope. And by the way, make it mean something when somebody beats her, okay?
Right.
So I think that's a great plan. I think that's definitely what they should do. All right, man. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, man. I know it's late for you. We've already wanted to wrap this up.
We covered a lot of ground.
So we did.
Yeah. We covered a lot of ground. So for all the people that missed BQ, make sure you drop your welcome back. In the comments. Make sure you tell them how much you missed them. Miss seeing that beautiful face. Okay. All right. Tell the people where they can find you on social.
BQ Speaks at don't look me up on Instagram. That's my personal. So BQ Speaks on Twitter. We'll leave it at that.
There it is. You can find me at TW Talking About on your social media of choice. You can follow my podcast page at Talking About Pod on Twitter. Make sure that you are sharing this with a friend, okay? If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you post it on somebody's page. Tag a friend that likes wrestling. Chat with us on Twitter. Like I said, follow me, follow BQ. Talk to me. I talk back. All right. I'm usually live tweeting during the show, and I want to hear what you guys think. All right. Like I said, tell a friend to tell a friend. Bring more people into the conversation. We'll be right back here next week with more of your Impact Talk. For BQ, I'm TW. Peace.